Hey everyone, welcome back. In this video, I'm going to show you how to solder two wires together. Soldering two wires together is a great skill to have if you ever want to fix things around the house or if you work a lot with electronics. Before we begin, you're going to need the following materials: a piece of heat shrink, a soldering iron stand, some solder, some wire strippers or wire cutters, some needle nose pliers, and a heat gun. And before you start soldering, it's always good to make sure you're using a surface that will not become damaged or melted, like a good workbench, okay? So when you have your two wires, the first thing you want to do now is go ahead and grab the wire and cut it where you want to cut it, and then grab your wire strippers here and strip off about, a quarter to a half an inch or so of the wire. Carefully cut it and then pull away from it, and you'll to expose the braided or stranded wire here. I'm going to go ahead now and do that for the other wire. I'm going to kind of just carefully move my wire around and cut it. I don't want to cut too hard because I don't want to cut through the entire wire. I just want to cut the rubber sheath around the metal wire. So once I've done that, I'm going to go ahead now and pull the wire coating off. All right, and once again, I'm doing this to expose the metal wire underneath here. Next thing you want to do, in this case, we are using stranded wire, okay, not solid wire. And so these strands right here, we want to go ahead and just twist them around, okay, so they're kind of bound together. So you get something like that. Let's go ahead and do that for the other one. Okay, looks pretty good. Once you've twisted the end of it, go ahead and grab your piece of heat shrink and slide it over your wire here. Okay, and we're going to use that heat shrink later. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the tip of this, and with my needle nose pliers, I'm just going to kind of bend it around and make like a little hook here, something like that. And I'm going to do that for both wires. And you can probably guess the next step. We're going to take those two hooked portions of the wire and we're going to attach them together. Okay, then you can use your needle nose, or with your fingers, go ahead and kind of push the wires and mesh them together so that they're connected like so. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and grab my solder, and I'm going to go ahead and cut off a piece here. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and zoom in a bit so you guys can see. So I'm going to grab my piece of solder here, and I'm going to grab my soldering iron, and I'm going to hold my piece of solder to the location where I want to bond these two wires. And I'm going to take my soldering gun and just try to hold it over and melt the solder so that it combines with my wire here. And there you go. I'm going to add a little bit more. There we go. So you can see we've soldered these two wires together here, and now they're securely attached. The next thing you want to do is go ahead and grab your piece of heat shrink and slide it over your soldering and your exposed wire. So it looks something like that. All right, so once you have your piece of heat shrink in place, okay, covering the exposed portion of the metal in your soldering, okay, go ahead and grab a heat gun. If you don't have a heat gun, you can also use a lighter, works as well, and go ahead and heat up your heat shrink. So when you're all done, it looks something like that. All right, that'll do it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.